afternoon, all our Facebook friends. Many people are talking on our website and are all talking about whether Donald J. Trump will be prosecuted for obstruction of justice. You can't turn on cable news without hearing all about it. I've represented people for almost 40 years accused of very serious crimes, and today I have the honor of getting a call from one Donald J. Trump, who's coming in for a consultation with me, the expert, on whether or not he needs a lawyer. I had heard a rumor that he hired some lawyer in New York who represented him on the Trump University case, where he ended up paying $25 million for fraud allegations. I'm not sure that's the right lawyer. So Mr. Trump is walking into my office, and I'm going to have a conversation with him now, and you guys can all observe and then form your own opinion about whether President Trump needs a lawyer. Good afternoon, Mr. Trump. I see you're here today because you're worried about being prosecuted for obstruction of justice charges. Is that right? Well, you realize that's a very serious crime, and if you're seeking a lawyer, that normally means you're worried about being prosecuted. And you likely should be, because obstruction of justice is a federal crime that could end you up in prison for many years. And they're claiming, according to all these papers, that you went in to the FBI director, Mr. Comey, and you told him to back off and not prosecute Mr. Kelly, your national security advisor. Is that right? Oh, you say that's not right. In fact, you say he met with you 3 times and he kept saying you're not under investigation. Is that right? Well, Mr. Trump, if this matter goes to trial, I have to warn you, it's going to be your word against Mr. Comey's word. And I went and pulled Mr. Comey's history off the internet, and I found out that he's been a federal prosecutor, a U.S. attorney appointed by George Bush himself, a Republican. I read that Mr. Comey voted for McCain and Romney, not even Obama. I've known in all these years there's never been an allegation against Mr. Comey that he ever lied. And then I look at your record, and it worries me, Mr. Trump, because during the campaign, Political Fact reported that 70% of the things you said out of your mouth were lies. And aren't you the same guy that said Obama was born in Kenya for like years? Well, Mr. Trump, if it becomes down to you or Mr. Comey's credibility, it seems like you might be in trouble. So we might want to go for a plea bargain. But I have good news for you, Mr. Trump. No U.S. president has ever been indicted and sent to jail as a U.S. president because the law really won't allow it. So you're lucky. But don't worry, you still could be impeached. Now, you might say you're safe from impeachment because the Congress is all more Republicans than Democrats. But guess who said that in 1974? Do you remember Richard Nixon? He was charged with the same kind of obstruction of justice, and he thought his Republican friends would never, ever impeach him. But guess what? The Republicans in 1974 had balls, and they went to him and said, you need to resign before you embarrass the country. So, Mr. Trump, the good news is you're not going to be prosecuted. The bad news, if it comes down to your credibility versus the FBI director, I feel very worried for you. In fact, I've decided, Mr. Trump, after great consideration, I am not going to take your case. I'm not going to take your case for 2 reasons. One, because I do not believe you, and I like to believe in my clients, and I never, ever take on a case for someone I despise. Well, anyway, everyone, that would be the conversation I would have with Donald J. Trump, and that should give you an insight into what's going on. This is not fake news, as Mr. Trump says. This is real news. In America, you don't obstruct justice. And if you do obstruct justice, you have to pay a price, because that's what makes America great. Have a great week, guys. Bye.